What makes a person snap in a crowd of laughter and light, where cotton candy clouds the air and children chase fireflies? At the Willow County Fair, under a sky bruised with twilight, an act of cruelty unfolded that would haunt the town for years. This is the story of Karen Mitchell, a woman whose rage unraveled her life, and the ripple effects that touched hearts she never meant to break. Karen Mitchell, 42, was a fixture in Willow County, known for her sharp tongue and sharper glares. She owned a small boutique on Main Street, where she sold overpriced scarves and judged customers with a flick of her manicured nails. To her, the county fair was a nuisance, too loud, too crowded, too full of people who didn't know their place. But her daughter, Lily, 16, begged to go, and Karen relented, if only to avoid another teenage tantrum. The fair was alive that evening, a kaleidoscope of flashing lights and carousel music. Families milled about, clutching corn dogs and stuffed prizes. Karen, in her pristine white blouse, navigated the chaos with a scowl, pulling Lily toward the Ferris wheel. That's when she saw him, James Carter, a 58-year-old disabled veteran, maneuvering his wheelchair through the crowd. His face was weathered, his eyes kind but tired, a folded American flag tucked into the side of his chair. James was a local hero, wounded in Afghanistan, now a quiet presence at community events, always with a smile for anyone who stopped to talk. Karen didn't see a hero. She saw an obstacle. James's wheelchair, slow and deliberate, blocked her path to the ticket booth. "Move it, would you?" she snapped, her voice cutting through the hum of the fair. James turned, apologetic. "Sorry, ma'am. Just trying to get through." His tone was gentle, but Karen's patience was a frayed thread. "You're holding everyone up," she hissed, stepping closer. Lily tugged at her mother's arm, whispering, "Mom, stop." But Karen was a storm now, unstoppable. The crowd began to notice. A few heads turned, murmurs rising. James raised a hand, trying to defuse the tension. "I'll move aside, no problem." But Karen wasn't listening. Something in her years of pent-up frustration, a life of feeling overlooked, ignited. She shoved his wheelchair hard. The chair lurched forward, tipping slightly before James caught himself, gripping the armrests. Gasps erupted. A child dropped his ice cream. Lily froze, her face pale with shame. "Why don't you just stay home if you can't keep up?" Karen spat, her voice venomous. The words hung in the air, ugly and irreversible. For a moment, the fair seemed to pause, the lights dimming in the collective shock. Then, a new voice broke the silence. "Karen, what the hell is wrong with you?" It was Marla Jenkins, a 60-year-old food vendor who'd known Karen since high school. Marla, with her gray curls and flour-dusted apron, was the kind of woman who remembered everyone's birthday and always had a kind word. She'd been watching from her cornbread stall, her heart sinking as Karen's cruelty unfolded. Marla wasn't just a bystander. She'd lost her son in the same war that took James's legs. Her voice trembled with fury as she stepped forward, pointing a finger. "That man served our country, and you treat him like trash?" Karen's face flushed, but she doubled down. "He was in my way, Marla. Mind your own business." The crowd thickened, phones out, recording. Lily pulled at her mother's sleeve again, tears in her eyes. "Mom, please, let's go." But Karen was trapped in her own defiance, blind to the hole she was digging. Marla wasn't done. She knelt beside James, who was shaking but composed, and placed a hand on his shoulder. "You okay, hon?" she asked softly. James nodded, but his eyes were distant, the weight of humiliation settling in. Marla stood, turning to the crowd. "Someone call the sheriff. This ain't right." Sheriff Dan Harper arrived within minutes, his boots crunching on the gravel. A lifelong resident of Willow County, Dan knew James from Veterans Day parades and Karen from her frequent complaints about parking tickets. He listened as witnesses recounted the incident, their voices overlapping with outrage. Karen, now realizing the gravity of her actions, stammered, "It was an accident. I didn't mean to hurt him." But the videos told a different story. Her shove was deliberate, her words cruel. Dan arrested Karen on the spot for assault. As he cuffed her, Lily sobbed, clutching her mother's purse. The crowd parted as Karen was led away, her white blouse now stained with fairground dust. James watched in silence, his hands folded in his lap, the flag in his chair fluttering faintly in the breeze. The trial was swift. Willow County wasn't a place for drawn-out legal battles. Karen's lawyer argued she was under stress, a single mom with a struggling business, but the judge wasn't swayed. The videos, the witnesses, Marla's tearful testimony about James's servicite all painted a damning picture. Karen was sentenced to 3 months in jail, a fine, and community service. The town buzzed with the verdict, some calling it justice, others whispering it wasn't enough. But the story didn't end with Karen's sentencing. There was another layer one few saw coming. Lily, mortified by her mother's actions, began visiting James at his small apartment on the edge of town. She brought homemade cookies, an apology in every bite. At first, James was wary, but Lily's sincerity disarmed him. She spoke of her mother's anger, how it had always been a shadow in their home, and her own guilt for not stopping her that night. James listened, his heart softening. He told her stories of his time in the service, of friends lost, of finding purpose despite his injuries. Lily, in turn, found a mentor, someone who saw her not as Karen's daughter but as her own person. Then came the twist no one expected. Marla, the vendor who'd called out Karen, wasn't just a grieving mother. She'd been quietly organizing a fundraiser for veterans like James, using her cornbread stall as a front to collect donations. The night of the incident, she'd been planning to announce it at the fair's closing ceremony. Karen's outburst derailed the moment, but Marla turned it into something bigger. She used the attention from the viral videos to amplify her cause, raising thousands for prosthetic upgrades and mental health support for local veterans. The town rallied, and James, despite his initial reluctance, became the face of the campaign not as a victim, but as a symbol of resilience. Karen, meanwhile, sat in her cell, the weight of her actions sinking in. She wrote letters to Lily, promising to change, but they went unanswered. Lily was rebuilding, finding strength in James and Marla, who'd become like family. Karen's boutique closed, her reputation in tatters. The fair, once a place of joy, became a reminder of her fall. When Karen was released, she returned to a town that had moved on. The fairgrounds were quiet, the lights long packed away. She saw James at the diner one day, his wheelchair gliding smoothly, a new confidence in his posture. Marla was there too, laughing with him over coffee. Karen wanted to apologize, but the words caught in her throat. She left without a sound, her heart heavy with regret. The bitter truth was this: Karen's moment of rage didn't just cost her 3 months. It cost her daughter's trust, her place in the community, and the chance to see the good she might have done. James, Marla, and Lily found light in the aftermath, their bond a quiet triumph. But for Karen, the fairgrounds echo was a sentence far longer than any jail term, a life shadowed by what she'd lost. ND.